Most men will never get lean in their lifetimes. The actual process of getting lean or below 15% body fat is pretty easy to follow and very cleanly defined. It's a three-step process of becoming lean and staying lean for life. Eating in a calorie deficit, a diet that's comprised of mostly, if not all the time, of clean, single ingredient whole foods, being more active, aka walking over 20,000 steps, none of this 10,000 step a day crap. And then step number 3, lifting consistently every single week, at least 3 days a week, with muscles, compound muscles mostly, but also some isolation exercises that target all 6 muscle groups. But even despite this cleanly cut, cleanly defined advice, most men won't follow a single step and they're going to stay as fat as ever. In decades past, the problem was always with men being skinny fat or possessing so-called dad bods. Nowadays, a dad bod is probably as close to lean as the average man will ever get in their lifetime. In fact, most men are well over 25, 30, 35% body fat, and they're perfectly okay with it. They have essentially given up in life. They are prioritizing comfort above all else, above the sheer act of striving for their accomplishments. There's no such thing as achieving goals or goals in general. People just want to stay at home. They just want to swipe on delivery apps, and they just want to order the instant dopamine hit. They want to order from their nearest fast food joint out there, or latest restaurant that they saw on scrolling away on social media. Essentially, men are giving in to all of the vices out there. Smoking, drinking, illicit drug usage or substance abuse, women or lust, and then of course gluttony, as I mentioned, right? Fast food spots all over the place, dessert joints all over the place, crumble cookies selling 1,000-calorie drinks every single week. It's no surprise that despite us having access, the greatest access ever to health-related knowledge about how to increase our life expectancy, as well as becoming as lean as we can in our lifetime, lowering our cholesterol, lowering our risk for metabolic disease, even despite all the knowledge out there, people just don't care anymore. They've just stopped caring. I see a lot of videos out there on social media calling men in general, regarding them as NPCs, basically non-main characters out there. Like in the video games, like Grand Theft Auto, those random people that are walking around in the streets that are almost always run over by the main character in the video game. That's what most men are. They're zombies. They're just wandering aimlessly through life. And in most cases, social media and then mobile phones have just completely rendered them useless. Now they're essentially living vicariously through other people's lives. They're just streaming away, or they're watching live streams of their favorite streamers, like people like iShowSpeed and all of these other folks. They're just living vicariously. They're just pretending that they're living the life of their favorite streamer. They're just following their streamers, their favorite influencers, from video to video, thinking that they're basically living their life, right? Or they're on OnlyFans just paying for prostitutes. That's it. Lust, right? A man who can control his lust, who can control his most carnal temptations, is probably going to be at least over 25 to 30% body fat. He's obviously going to be the guy who's struggling to bring down any amount of subcutaneous or visceral fat, right? Men that are constantly crippled by these vices are going to constitute 97% of all the men out there who don't have six-pack abs. That percentage was actually about 94% back when I had the Acestar Health channel on YouTube. I used to reveal that to my audience, that over 94% of men on this planet, not in the United States, but on this planet, do not and will not ever possess six-pack abs. That, unfortunately, those figures have inflated since then, and now in 2026, that's probably closer to 97%. And yes, that's even with the advent in technologies, in healthcare related, and in treatments in healthcare, and then all of these other drugs that are out there in the market, right? Like testosterone, steroids, all of these GLP-1 peptides that are like retatrutide, Ozempic, Wegovy. You see all of these commercials out there, right? People are obviously taking these weight loss drugs, and then what happens? Their insurance providers aren't able to cover these drugs from month to month, and as a result, these guys are falling off the bandwagon, and as a result, those cravings hit even harder than last time, and as a result, they're right back in the fast food lines, they're right back in the drive-through lines, I should say, and just pigging out and becoming as fat and as obese as ever, right? Mukbanging has actually become a phenomenon. There are people who are just taping themselves on social media, just eating away thousands and thousands of calories on camera. This was a phenomenon even before 2026. Right? Even like almost a decade ago, people were just like forming YouTube channels where they would just show themselves just pigging out. Dessert foods, junk foods, ultra processed foods. And they were just racking up hundreds of thousands and millions of subscribers. These people were once again living vicariously through these tub of lard fat asses. These these human personifications of pigs, of hogs out there. There's only so much advice I can give you through these videos, but I mean, I can lead you to the lake, I can lead you to the water, but I can't force feed you that, right? I can impart you some of the knowledge. I can talk to you about some of my own experiences. I've actually gone through some of these vices before. Lust, gluttony, thankfully, never smoking or drinking or even illicit drug use. I was away from those vices, but the other two vices, boy, do I have stories to tell about each of those vices. But the best advice I can give you is it's not going to happen overnight. And that transformation is certainly not going to be force-fed by me. You have to actually take a cold, hard look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to hate the person that is looking back at you. You have to be angry with your current position in life. You can't be satisfied. You can't be content. I remember at my graduation ceremony as a high schooler, one of the most influential speeches I've ever heard in my life was by the guest speaker. And he said that to be contented in life is probably the worst thing you could ever do to yourself. As soon as you're contented, you're dead, right? Even worse so than being cooked, fried, sauteed, as most men are out there these days. If you're content, that's going to lead to all your problems in life from that point on, right? You're going to give up on yourself. You're just going to resign yourself to sticking it out at a 9 to 5, right? Being in that dead-end relationship, right? Being, moving in with your parents and having to deal with their crap day after day. And then, of course, not making any changes to your diet, right? Just relying on instant gratification hits from fast food, from ultra-processed foods. And all of that shit is going to add up. It's going to take a toll on your life sooner than you think. You're not always going to be in your teenage years. You're not always going to be in your 20s. Heck, obesity is now affecting kids nowadays. Childhood obesity rates have completely skyrocketed in recent years. So my question to you is, what the hell are you going to do about it? Are you just going to watch videos like this and just nod? Just say, oh yeah, he has a point there. And then just scroll right off and go and watch your favorite mukbangers or watch your favorite streamers. If you continue to not take any action, inaction is worse than anything else out there. if you refuse to improve yourself, if 2026 is just like 2025 or 2024, all of these are years where you didn't do shit to get yourself, to dig yourself out of the hole that you've dug for yourself, then I hate to break it to you, but I can create a video and post it every single day of the week, and it's not going to make the slightest difference, right? It's not going to make any difference. So you might as well just click off this video now if you're not going to implement any of the advice I'm going to be imparting to you in future videos. But all I wanted to leave you with in this video is that most men will never be lean because they're going to continue to be content, and they're going to continue to follow the status quo, be part of the herd, if you will. If you want to stand out from the crowd, if you want to be more than ordinary, you have to do extraordinary things. And it's very simple, the extraordinary things you have to do, because there are just 3 of them. Eating in a calorie deficit, which pertains to over 98, 99% of you watching this video, because that's going to be the only way you're going to lose fat. Being more active, you have to be constantly walking every single day, every single hour of every single day. You have to basically swear off sitting at some point, like I have. I'm actually taping this video while standing up. I refuse to sit down because I know the longer I stay seated, the less I'm going to live. And then third, you want to build as much muscle as you can, especially as you grow older. And the only way to build muscle is by lifting, right? Calisthenics can only take you so far, my friend. Weightlifting is going to beat calisthenics any day of the week. So the steps are simple. It all comes down to you, bro. If you actually want to be another statistic like the 98% out there who will never get 6-pack abs, or if you're actually going to take some of this advice to heart and actually man up, buck up, and start living your best life.